All right, this is loyalty to agency, client, or self, and this was the 13th ethical dilemma in Appendix A from Ethical Decisions for Social Work Practice by Hannah Harrison and Jesse Gonzalez.
Description of problem. Mr. and Mrs. Sofara requested couples counseling from an agency in their neighborhood because of the increasing miscommunication and arguments in their marriage. They saw an initial intake person who determined that their income requires a $90 fee per session, and they agreed to the fee arrangement. Afterward, they were assigned to a social worker, Hyacinth DeForma, who is trained to do couples counseling. After they began working with Mrs. DeForma, they told her the fee is proving to be more stressful for their family than they anticipated. Ms. DeForma says, despite the agency's policies and fee schedule, that there may be a way to solve the financial problem. Because the agency has no written policy about seeing agency clients privately, she could see them privately in her part-time practice for a lower fee. Should she? Why or why not?
So the first thing we wanted to discuss was the social worker's commitment to the client. And here we regard NASW's ethical principles of service, dignity, and worth of the person, and importance of human relationships. When it comes to service, it is the social worker's primary goal to help people in need and to address social problems. Dignity and worth of the person refers to social workers respect the inherent dignity and worth of their clients. The importance of human relationships is recognizing the central importance of those relationships and the therapeutic relationship. There are also the two ethical standards of commitment to clients and the ethical standard regarding interruption of service. And with commitment to clients, in regards to social work being a helping profession, and the standard of interruption of service in regards to ensuring services are continued should termination with the client be necessary.
Commitment to agency. Hyacinth has loyalty to her agency through the ethical principle of integrity, social workers behave in a trustworthy manner, as well as the ethical standards of respect for fellow colleagues, consultation with colleagues, and referral for services.
Hyacinth's commitment to herself involves her own self and her own livelihood. She has her own professional and personal boundaries to think about. Just her general situation of being a social worker who has loyalties to her agency, her client, and even her own licensure, but that these things may conflict sometimes with ethical dilemmas, including situations like these, and also the need for her to be able to support herself through her career.
Unknowns and questions. Before a decision can be made, it is important to consider all sides of the story. As social workers, we want to explore the unknowns and how these can factor into the decision-making process for ethical decisions. Before this, we would have liked to have had a better understanding of both the clients, agency, and the therapist. Questions to explore include, has she consulted her supervisor? Is she going to inform her agency? Does she feel obligated to clients? Has she offered to find outside services that are less expensive? Is the agency in a rural or urban community? Is the agency the only provider in the area? What is the difference in fee going to be? What does the agency policy explicitly state? Has social worker done this with other clients? What is her honest motivation? How many sessions has she seen the clients? How many sessions are left in the treatment plan? Do the clients consider her the best clinician for them? Does she consider herself the only or best option for them? The client's knowledge and understanding of service options available to them? The access and availability of other agencies and services in surrounding areas. Do the clients have children? Does clinician possess some type of specialty that applies to the clients? Many factors can influence these situations, including culture and ethnicity of the clients, as well as the socioeconomic status of the clients.
Now we'd like to explore the possible alternatives that Hyacinth could do. The first one being that she continues with the decision that she's made and chooses to take on the client in her private practice at a reduced fee. Now, there may not be specificity in the agency policy against referral to private practice, and here she would be acting on commitment to the client in regards to attempting to help them because the fee is too stressful for the family. It would be interesting to know if there would be a positive response from her colleagues and her supervisors should she consult them first. It would also be important because she would like to know if there would be any potential damage to her personal or professional integrity should she choose to take the clients on. It would also be important to know if there are any congruent cultural factors or specialties that pertain to the specific couple that Hyacinth would specialize in that would make her the best option for them. Most importantly, we'd want to know, influencing this decision, as if it's a commonly accepted and practical response to the situation.
Or Hyacinth could choose to not take on the client in private practice. In doing so, it allows her as a therapist to protect personal and professional integrity that she holds. Also, it allows Hyacinth to foster loyalty to her colleagues and agencies while committing to a greater good of the agency and her other clients. In doing so, she maintains healthy professional boundaries with her clients, agency, and fellow colleagues. Also, Hyacinth will be avoiding potential conflicts that may arise due to the fact that it is not explicitly stated in her agency policy that she cannot see these clients in her private practice. Lastly, Hyacinth will maintain ethical standards and principles referring to client and insuring services.
It would make sense to take on the client from an ethical relativist stance because an ethical relativism rejects fixed moral rules and asserts that solutions to a problem are relative to the situation.
On the other hand, it would make sense to support and refer the client out through looking at clinical pragmatism because it maintains the clinical status quo of the agency as well as the norms of the NASW. In addition, it resolves any potential dilemmas, including value ethics.
The dynamic systems theory also helps to describe the situation and various aspects for the social worker.
Through using dynamic systems theory, we can see how Hyacinth, the therapist, is autonomous in making her own decisions, yet has outer subsystems that influence how she goes about making her decision. As the focal point, Hyacinth has subsystems that include her biological, emotional, spiritual, and cognitive traits. However, she has many supersystems that she transfers energy from. These supersystems involve themselves in how she makes a decision. They include her agency, clients, affiliation with the National Association of Social Workers, her potential family that she may have, her fellow colleagues, and her private practice. Although Hyacinth as an individual is in her own system, she's also part of a greater system that are all interrelated and connect to one another.
To gain some insight into the ethical dilemma, Hannah and I both consulted with our field supervisors.
As an intern at The Haven, a residential treatment center for women, Kevin Burt, a licensed clinical social worker, advises me. As I asked him this question, his response was, if I was in this situation in the city of Denver, I would not take the client on in private practice. The reason I would not do this is because referring yourself is unethical. In addition, when you refer yourself, you are taking away business from your agency. If I was, however, in this situation, I would give the client 3 to 5 references for other therapists not in our agency. I might include my outside practice in those 3 to 5 references, but I also might not. Even doing that, however, is a bit unclear when it comes to ethics. Lastly, it is important to remember to note that my response is based off living in Denver. It may get tricky deciding what to do if you lived in a more rural community. such as Lyman, where you may be the only individual qualified for the job?
My supervisor, Katie Lesh, is an LPC that is a head clinician at Jefferson Center for Mental Health. And although the Jefferson Center's policy is very clear that you should not take on or refer for clients to yourself, Katie also recommended providing the client with a list of sliding scale therapists. Katie also mentioned the power differential in a client-therapist relationship and just how much it might influence referring a client to oneself.
Conclusion. After reading The Ethical Dilemma, weighing out both options, and consulting outside resources, Jesse and I have decided that if we were the therapist, we would not take on the client in our private practice. Before discussing any options with the clients, we would consult our supervisor to see if they first had any suggestions of what steps to take. In doing so, we would discuss other payment options with our supervisor and agency to see if we could work on some sort of sliding scale to reduce the fee, allowing the clients to stay working with us as their therapists. Lastly, if an option between our supervisor and agency could not be reached, we would give references to our clients about other agencies and resources that would better serve them financially, as well as provide them with the type of services they needed.
And finally, these are our references.